Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the FoxieMoose Show, episode 9. I'm your host, Tyre Godet, aka FoxieMoose, and I'm here to analyze your favorite characters. For those who are new here, I'm a character concept artist that enjoys helping people, helping people learn while inspiring creativity. So, for today's show, you can see from the thumbnail, the title of the video, and the trailer that we have pulled up right now, we're going to be discussing Akuma. And this came about because I felt that since we were already talking about Sakura, I would continue the trend and, do Akuma next. If you guys have any suggestions for characters to analyze next week, please leave comments in the comment section below, and let's get this rolling. So let's start here with this awesome video, this awesome reveal trailer. All right. So, on to the analyzation now. As you can see, he's a pretty badass character. Really, really, for lack of a better term, he's very hyper in the game, and he really lets loose. Like he goes wild, man. But we're going to be talking about various aspects of his character design. Um, and just to give you a brief overview, is going to be his story, um, what type of game this is, the archetype, the trope, the hook, and where he's from, and his alignment. And then we're gonna go into some design communication things and what could we improve. So let's start. So for those who don't know, a little fun fact: Akuma's name actually means devil in Japanese, which is really cool. As you can see, he has these really red demon eyes, so that's really cool. He trained under Gotetsu with his brother, Goken. Yes, Akuma is Goken's brother, for those who don't know. It's probably going to be a bit of spoilers, if you consider these spoilers, really. The fighting style they were being taught required the person to give up any compassion they held towards any other human beings and given to the Satsui no Hado, which is basically like, hey, you can't be compassionate. You have to literally throw away any compassion, any feelings you have towards anyone else. Um, Goken didn't like this, so he left while Akuma stayed. But Akuma also left to break his limits as a martial artist. He felt that under Gotetsu he was being limited. So after a while, Akuma decided to embrace the Satsui no Hado to its maximum capacity, which made him develop a kind of a lust that he a lust of fighting to the death. After training, he decides to test his skills against his own master in a death match, and obviously, as we still see the character, he won. As a result, he deemed himself the true master of the art and placed his master's prayer beads around his neck. During this time, Goken actually comes back and sees that Akuma kills his master, and basically just literally hates him. like literally hates him and despises him. Um, Akuma also lives to be the ultimate fighter and goes around the world to find worthy opponents. He also doesn't kill people who aren't worthy of being killed by him. So like if he defeats you and he's like, man, this was too easy, he kind of just lets you go, which kind of plays into the whole uh, 2D fighter aspect of it, to where you're KOing people, you're not like killing people, um, like in Mortal Kombat. And now let's just segue into what type of game this is. So as we said, he's obviously a character for a 2D fighter. This is stuff like an anime fighter like Blaze Blue, obviously Street Fighter, um, the Marvel vs. Capcom series. All those basically like 2D side scroller points of view. Now let's move into the archetypes. And for those who don't know, archetypes are the role the character plays in the game. Now, archetype can mean a very different things depending on how you use it. But for the case of this video, archetype is going to be the role they play in the game. And just to give a little idea of what that could be, for MOBAs, for example, or a lot of MMOs, is going to be DPS, tank, support, and assassin. That kind of those general archetypes. But for fighting games, it gets a bit different because obviously you can't really have a support character, and you can't really you can have an assassin, but it becomes a different term. So again, for the purpose of this video, I decided to split them into three or four different categories that I felt best described them, because fighting game archetypes are really difficult to categorize because a lot of it falls into playstyle, and technically any character can be used as anything. So we're going to be based on, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be based on the character's kits. All right. I tried to make sure I wasn't muted. Would have been really mad. Would have been really upset. All right, so let's start with, so these are the four different categories for fighting games, in my opinion. So we're going to have the defensive category, which keeps all of your zoners and your keep away characters. These are the characters that are going to be obviously defensive, usually going to be charged characters that try to keep you away or keep you within a certain distance. A really good example of this would be like Rose. Who else? Basically any ranged character or that has like a really good projectiles, or pets or puppets, which technically is a category in itself, but that's defensive, so the zoners and keep away. Then we have offensive, which is the rushdown characters, which you saw in the video. Akuma had a lot of rushdown options. He also had a lot of defensive options. And that's going to let us segue into the all-arounder. Now, this character can literally do everything. And funny enough, we're going to touch on this a bit more in a second. But funny enough, Akuma is actually considered, in my opinion, is considered an all-arounder because he can literally do everything except grapple, which which brings us to the last category, which is grappler or puppeteer, basically the special category, because it's a very specific character type. Now, I say Akuma is an all-arounder. Again, these are going to be based on the character's kits. Akuma is definitely an all-arounder. At first thought, I was like, why would you give a demonic person such a flexible kit? Then it started to make sense. He's literally spent his entire life, as far as we know, training to become the best fighter in the world. Just because he has no compassion for humans doesn't mean he doesn't have a brain. He's fought so many different types of people that he's learned to fight in various different ways. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that he is an all-arounder. And looking at it from this perspective, if he wasn't, it'd be like, okay, like you're supposed to be like the best fighter in the world or whatever you claim yourself to be, but you can't do everything, or in the sense that you don't know how to beat everything. So I think it fits that like kind of that master aesthetic. Like you've mastered everything. So I think that's really good from a design, from a game design standpoint. In terms of the trope, occupation or the class, This literally means it's what grounds the character to something familiar or similar, i.e., a class, like an archer or a sorcerer or a monk or a martial artist. Um, so in this case, Akuma is obviously a martial artist. He has on the gi, and he's literally everything about him screams martial artist. So now we move on to the hook. Now the hook is something that makes a character interesting and memorable by introducing abilities, skills, history, a second trope, hobbies, anything you can think of that makes the character not the same bland. Oh, this is an archer number 79 with bow. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So what is Akuma's hook? Well, if we look at him, you can kind of. It's really hard to pick out because obviously you see that he has the. He obviously has on the gi, which that lets you see the martial artist side of him. But I also think having these, it's really hard to notice. I actually didn't notice it for a while. I had to actually look at this image for quite some time to notice this. But Akuma has on these like ropes here. He has on ropes on his hands, and I was like, what does that mean? And then I actually did some research, and I found out that I know at least in Muay Thai, it what used to be a custom to where some people would wear ropes on their hands because it actually hurt the enemy, but it also protected your hands at the same time. So it was kind of like having a boxing glove on that was only protection for your fist. So basically, it was kind of like, oh, it was like these really nice weapons to have if you were literally like if you were really looking to hurt somebody. Um, so he obviously has them on. I think that's a really nice touch. I think it's a really nice touch because if he didn't, if he was in this day and age, he might have on like uh, maybe like MMA gloves or like fingerless gloves. But he's really looking for maximum damage, so he just straight up wraps the rope like this. Really, that's a really thick rope too. Literally, just wraps the rope around his hands to make sure he can get that full impact. But that's not his hook. That's anyway. His hook is the fact that he has deadly martial arts skills. As we talked about in his story, he has the Satsui no Hado, or he's trained in it, which literally is required to learn like the most deadly martial art techniques, and he's mastered them, or so he claims. He's mastered them all, as we've all seen with the Raging Demon. Um, he also likes to seek out worthy opponents. So the fact that he's not just a martial artist, he's a martial artist that has kind of a purpose, which is really important in character design for characters to like know why they make decisions. If a character doesn't know why they're making a decision, you need to figure out what the character is looking for and what their goals are. Because every character is a person in some way. So in order to personify them, you have to give them a goal. You have to give them a purpose. Because every person in life has something that they want to work for, and if they don't, I don't believe it. And last but not least, actually, he has bloodlust. Bloodlust in this case is actually a kind of like a hook. This is what makes the character interesting. Again, this is told by, he has these like red eyes that make him like really scary. Looks like glasses. um, anyway, he has these, he looks like an orc now. Um, yeah, he has this bloodlust in his eyes um, that you can just kind of like tell. Like you can just look at him and tell that he's literally out to kill you. And that's literally something that makes a character interesting. Is you can tell, you can feel the bloodlust without even being there. And that's amazing. Okay, so let's move on to his home slash location. This means literally where are they from and what type of culture is found there. Obviously, Akuma is from Japan. I wouldn't say he's definitely not like a modern day Japan, but more of like an older time Japan. He might have some references from today, but as of this, he has like more of like an older vibe with the sandals on and the rope on his hands again, and the torn gi. Um, so I think he has more of like a it's not a contemporary style, but it's more of like a pre-modern, like if that's a thing. Um, but yeah, he's from Japan. He's definitely from Japan, just not modern Japan. Um, Now, in terms of alignment, I know last week we talked about Sakura's alignment, and that was a really good discussion there. But for those who didn't watch it, alignment is literally the nature slash personality of the character. Are they good, evil, or neutral? Are they lawful, chaotic? And this is based off of D&D alignments, and I think it's a really amazing system to go by. So, in the last video, we figured out a way to accurately determine what a character's alignment is. So we're going to do that here. So first, we're going to start with, are they good, evil, or neutral? Well, obviously, in this case, we know that Akuma is not a very nice person. He doesn't like doing things. He doesn't like thinking about others, or doing things for others, and he doesn't like thinking about others. He doesn't want to help those in need, and he doesn't have any respect for life. Literally none. That was a part of his training to literally give away any respect he had for life and humans. So that crosses him out of being good. He can't be neutral because, I mean, technically he could be. Every person could technically be neutral, but it's kind of like those extra things, like, do you help people or do you not help people? Do you like hurting people more? Is what decides whether or not you're neutral or not. So he does like doing things for his own gain, but a neutral person tends to not like killing the innocent. And they also don't like making sacrifices or helping people or protecting them. And commitment is literally valued through personal relationships. So Akuma literally doesn't care. Like, he will kill the innocent if he has to, because to him, if you're a worthy opponent of being killed, then that's kind of like an honor. Um, so obviously that leaves us with evil. He enjoys causing pain and suffering, and that's blatantly that's the definition of evil. It's that you enjoy causing pain and suffering, no matter what it is. And he's definitely an evil character. Now let's move on to whether or not he's lawful or chaotic. Now, lawful characters, they abide by a set of rules. They work within a system of order. They're rigid, they're disciplined. Now, technically, Akuma is disciplined, but he doesn't follow rules. He is literally like one of the most sporadic characters like out there in terms of like showing up and stalk. He literally stalks at tournaments. Like, he'll sit in the shadow and then come out and fight the winner. Like, okay, Akuma, all right, sir. Um, is he chaotic? I would say yes, because a chaotic person doesn't care for rules. Like I said, they're sporadic. No real morals. They prefer freedom, and that's what Akuma does. He has this freedom. He doesn't have any restrictions on him. He does whatever he wants. So Akuma's definitely a chaotic evil in my books. He even has the glowy eyes. He even has like the red colors. He has, like I said, he has the ropes on his hand to inflict maximum pain. Um, like I said, these are essentially boxing gloves without the cushion. Um, so yeah, he's definitely a chaotic evil person that wants to just destroy and break shit. Yeah, so let's move on to now his design communication. Now this is comparing gameplay versus design, what the character is capable of. So in this case, does he look like an all-arounder character as we discussed earlier, or a Shoto in Street Fighter's case, which a Shoto is literally just a balanced character with DPs, Hadokens and Tatsumakis, basically all that type of stuff. Um, so I'm gonna say he does look. He does look like an all arounder. He looks like a Shoto, because most a primary trait of a primary trait. Let me get a blue here. Should I get a bright blue? Let's get a different color or a bright pink. Um, a primary feature of Shotos is this gi here. This almost every Shoto in Street Fighter has one. So that's a pretty clear sign from a design standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, that a character is going to have DPs and Hadokens and whatnot. Now, an exception to this would be Makoto. Makoto does not have. She is not a Shoto character. She does not have DP. She does not have projectiles. She's literally like she's a traditional martial artist. Now that's where we can do a whole another video on Makoto, but from Makoto's standpoint, I do think that's a really confusing design aspect to have this, because you have this visualization of what a character is. You can expect to have DPs and projectiles and Tatsumakis of some kind from this outfit. And when you take that outfit and literally change the whole dynamic of it, it makes it really confusing. So that's a topic for a whole another video. I might do it later on next week or whatever. But yeah, I think Makoto's design is a bit confusing. I would really like to touch upon that a bit more into detail. But let's continue with the Akuma in front of us. So he does, like I said, he does look like a Shoto, but he also looks a lot more aggressive than other Shoto characters. I should have had an image of Ryu here. That's my phone, sorry. I should have had an image of Ryu here next to Akuma to really show that. I mean, obviously there's a really big contrast when it comes to Ryu and Akuma. Ryu is like all about this balance and the light side, and Akuma's all about this dark side, even shown in his dark palette, his color palette. But the main reason he looks a lot more aggressive than other Shoto characters, besides his color palette, is the fact that, he has these ropes on his hands. He has a lot of points and jagged edges on his character. He has these really menacing eyes. He has this frown on his face. We already know this guy is bad news, and we don't want to mess with him. If we're like, this isn't a guy you would walk up to and be like, "Hey, do you have directions to the nearest like Target?" Like you wouldn't ask him. You wouldn't ask him a question. He doesn't look very friendly and very approachable. And I think the frown is a very, very, very nice touch to that. Even the fact that, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but his nose is literally like a point. So he kind of, and then you get this kind of like mean face. So everything kind of sucks in to the face. I think that's a really nice touch. Just because of the angle of the brow going downward like that. I think that's a really nice touch. Really helps to show that off. Now, he also has this lion mane on his, obviously, I think this is kind of controversial for a while. Everybody was like, why does he have like a mane? Like, it makes sense from a design aspect, but it looks strange because we're used to seeing Akuma with this little like high bun almost, this little ponytail sticking up, and he has like this lion mane. So I think the lion mane looks really cool. To me, it looks really cool, and it makes sense from a design aspect. It makes sense. Akuma is literally like the embodiment of a lion. He is full of pride. He's always like, he's the type of person you would see that's like sitting up on his high pedestal and kind of like watching over everything, not for, the safety of others, but for his own pleasure. He just wants to go out and monitor everything and see who worthy opponents are. So I think that's a really good design choice, but not from a gameplay standpoint. It was a very risky move to make that. just because the character is already established. Um, Now, does he look like a martial artist? We've already discussed this. Yes, he does. He has the gi. He has the sandals, and he's in like this fighting pose. So yes, he does look like a martial artist. You can pick him up and be like, okay, this guy is actually, he's not like gonna start shooting like, he's not gonna start casting like magic or something, or he's not gonna pull out robots or something like that. Does he look deadly with Bloodlust? As we discussed earlier, yes. Again, the core feature of this is going to be like the red glowy eyes that look like they can track you in the dark and in the nighttime. It's just very, very eerie. And also, does he look like a chaotic evil character? And again, yes, everything in his design points to him being a chaotic evil character. He's not, he's not bright and cheery. He's literally dark. He has a frown. He has these dark clothes. He does not look approachable. He looks like he just wants to hurt everything. And that's really, really good. So I honestly think Akuma is an amazing design. And this video is particularly on Street Fighter V Akuma. So I think they did a really, really good job with Street Fighter V Akuma. Street Fighter 4 Akuma is a whole different character almost. Again, minus the lion mane, and he still has the gi or whatever, but I don't think he has the ropes. I think there's a skin where he has like ropes on his hands, but I don't think he actually has those in his default skin. I have to go back and check. Now, is there anything that we could actually improve upon? Honestly, no. I think he's amazing. From a gameplay standpoint, everything's there. I don't have to guess what this character does. He has. Me personally, I'm gonna go out on the limb and say this. I would probably make the gi either. He has a skin where you can take the gi off, like his shirt part, which makes a lot more sense because that way, he doesn't have the fabric holding him back in a fight. I think that makes a lot of sense in that regard. And I would also like to see the beads actually come out of the shirt. I don't know why they're in the shirt to begin with or in the gi to begin with, but they might make a lot of sense going on top and around on top of the clothing. Because that would really, I mean, it's really nice to have it under the clothes. That way it's like, oh, his beads are there, but they're a really cool element. I understand that they're probably trying to hide the fact that there's like he has like circular elements, which circular elements usually mean the character is like friendly or, soft. But I just think that having that, imagine if this was breaking the silhouette right here. Like if this was kind of going around, I think that'd be really cool to kind of see. It's like, okay, that's actually something else to break the silhouette, to make him a bit more recognizable. But again, they have this giant lion mane in this game that makes him really stand out. Because if he didn't have the lion mane, he would kind of look like Ken. If we're being honest, he would be somewhat like Ken minus like the obviously like the side bangs and whatnot. So I think adding that lion mane really, really makes his silhouette pop against everything else. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys liked it, please thumbs up. If you didn't, please thumbs down. But please don't thumbs down because that would hurt me so very bad. If you guys have any suggestions for upcoming characters, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think. If you have any feedback about something you would want to see in this videos going forward or how I can improve, please leave that down below. And please don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and all the other social medias linked down below. That's where I'll be uploading my own personal artwork. So if you guys enjoy this stuff, you enjoy the philosophies that I'm talking about, you can see it in my own work, my various character designs and character concept art. But with all that said, I'll catch you guys later. This show is now over. See ya.